Welcome to the Seymour Show. I'm Benjamin Seymour, a physician assistant. My goal currently is to post one episode a week on Fridays, specifically at 8 a.m. And then as I get my routine down and schedule calms down, maybe 2 to 3 episodes, a week after that. But that's my goal. Today I wanted to cover why I believe marijuana should be banned in every state. I'm going to say what a lot of people won't say out loud anymore. Legal marijuana is a net harm to the country. And the reason it keeps expanding is simple. We keep talking about it like it's harmless. It's not. In primary care, I treat a lot of patients with substance use disorder. Most of the time, their history just isn't weed. It's hard drugs like opiates, fentanyl, and meth. And here's the pattern I keep seeing. Almost every addict has one hard drug that's their weakness, the one that really owns them. But almost all of them do marijuana too. Now, if I'm being honest, over 90% of the urine drug screens I see in that population are positive for THC. It's everywhere. It's normalized. It's the baseline. And I also noticed something else. A large portion of the people I'm treating who use marijuana also have mental health issues like anxiety, depression, mood instability, and sometimes paranoia. Now, sometimes even have even worse stuff. Now, we have to be fair here because this is a classic chicken or egg question. Did marijuana cause it? Did it worsen it? Or did people already struggling with mental health start using marijuana to self-medicate? And the answer is sometimes both. But either way, this is the point. Marijuana isn't harmless. Neutral plant. People pretend it is. In the real world, it's often tangled up with addiction patterns and mental health problems. And pretending that connection doesn't exist is exactly how you end up with a bad policy and worse outcomes. So number one, mental health risk is real, especially psychosis. Here's the key point. Cannabis is not just relaxing. For some people, it's a match thrown into gasoline. The National Institute of Health reviewed a large Danish registry and analysis and highlighted something sobering. Cannabis use disorder is associated with substantially higher risk of schizophrenia, and the researchers estimate that up to about 30% of schizophrenia cases in men ages 21 to 30 potentially could have been prevented if cannabis use disorder were avoided. Now, I want to be precise because this precision builds trust. That is not 30% of all schizophrenics. That's a population level estimate in a high-risk group, young men, linked specifically to cannabis use disorder. And the risk rises with heavier use. A major meta-analysis found a dose-response relationship. Heaviest users had much higher odds of psychotic outcomes compared with non-users. So if your argument is it's just a plant, I'm telling you that it's not. So that's the marketing. It's just a plant. Now, another thing I want to discuss is driving in marijuana. We have normalized the public safety problem. Second was the driving. In a study highlighted by the American College of Surgeons, it looked at deceased drivers in a county in Ohio. About 41.9% tested positive for active THC in their blood. Now, I do understand the limitations. Yes, THC levels don't map neatly to impairment the way alcohol does, but this is still a flashing red light that says cannabis and driving are mixed constantly, and people are pretending it's not a big deal. Now, when we zoom out, the meta-analysis consistently show that acute cannabis use is associated with increased crash risk. This includes fatal collisions. So culturally, we've been landing in this insane place where drinking and driving are universally condemned, but getting high and driving is treated like, be careful. That is not compassion, that's denial. And the third thing I want to talk about was, does marijuana make people slower long-term? So that permanently slower question, I'll give you the honest clinician answer. The evidence strongly supports short-term cognitive impairment with attention, memory, executive function, especially around use and in the days after. But for that longer-term effects, the data is not perfect, but the trend is concerning, especially with heavy chronic use cannabis and with cannabis use disorder. So a meta-analysis in 2025 found cannabis use disorder associated with moderate deficits in verbal learning, memory processing speed, and working memory. In the American Journal of Psychiatry, they published a long study titled Long-Term Cannabis Use and Cognitive Reserves and Hippocampal Volume in Midlife. In the results section, they stated long-term cannabis users showed IQ decline from childhood to midlife with a mean of negative 5.5 IQ points. And it also showed poor learning and processing speed relative to their childhood IQ and informant reported memory and attention problems. So, and also in the conclusions section, they stated long-term cannabis users showed cognitive deficits and smaller hippocampal volume in midlife, which the hippocampus is responsible for memory, processing, short-term storage to long-term memory. So does marijuana make people permanently slower? Not proven, but studies are pointing to it with heavy chronic use. So do we have enough evidence to say heavy long-term use can leave people with residual cognitive impairment in real domains? Yes, and pretending otherwise is not science. And this is why I think a full ban is morally and medically reasonable. Now let's put it together. We have a substance that can raise risk of psychosis, especially in vulnerable groups. We have a widespread overlap with driving deaths. We have real cognitive effects that undermine learning, motivation, and function for many heavy users. And the legalization doesn't reduce harm, it normalizes harm, commercializes harm, increases potency, and creates an industry that profits from addiction and denial. I'm not impressed by the tax revenue argument. We could tax meth too, but that doesn't make it good. And here's one point that sounds small until you've lived it: the smell. Every state that's legalized this stuff ends up smelling like the backside of a skunk. And that's just reality. It's a form of pollution. You can't walk down to certain streets or go out to parks without getting hit with it. And when I went to the Grand Canyon a few years ago, we had to fly into Las Vegas. And let me tell you, that whole city reeks. And I'm bringing this up for a reason. When something becomes legal and normalized, it doesn't stay private. It spills into public life, into families, into neighborhoods, and into cities, whether everyone is consented to it or not. That's the pattern with marijuana. It's sold as personal choice, but the consequences are shared by everybody. So my position is straightforward. Marijuana should be banned nationwide. If you want compassion, don't expand a product that worsens mental illness, road safety, and cognitive performance, and assaults everyone's olfactory senses. So thank you for watching this podcast episode. If you learned something or enjoyed this episode, please share it. Specifically, share it with 2 people. And if those 2 people share it with 2 more people, then we can grow this podcast and reach more people. This is the Seymour Show. Stay grounded in truth. See you next time.